I want to talk generally about this though, because this is a situation a lot of people are coming up against. Like my A event just has totally different terrain for what I'm prepping for. And I think it is important to talk about because you can like be very perfect in your training and get everything done. But if you live in Montana and you're racing in Cozumel down in Mexico, that if you don't prepare for that heat and humidity, it's going to, no matter how great your preparation is, you're really hindering your ability to execute, right? Mm-hmm. And the same could be said if it's like, elevation is a lot tougher to counter for if you live at flat elevation going up to high, but still you can do certain things to be able to mitigate that. But let's just talk about that really quick. And I think that there's some things that you can focus on, some things that like you kind of just have to ignore.
Nate,
go
I have
ahead.
opinions. Yeah. I think so let's talk about, of course, for triathlon, I think it's actually harder for a person in a hilly area to go race on a flat course because for the half and Ironman distance to be in Aero for that whole time is so like, it's its own thing. And then your neck and your shoulders really hurt. Where when you are climbing, you can get in and out of saddle, you sit up, and it's much more variable. That's why when we do an Ironman one day, I actually want to pick something where it's not totally flat because we can't do that here. Stay, Aero for, 5 hours for us and 6 hours for Chad. It's going to be super duper hard to do that.
Nice. That's a good little thing.
Nice. He doesn't listen, so I can say whatever I want. And then the heat, that's the other one that kills people. It's easier to go cold because you just wear clothes, but the heat that's probably the worst, is going to heat. And then humidity is a aspect of the heat. It just makes it hotter. That is, we've talked about it a bunch. You got to do sauna training. You got to sit in the sauna if you can. If you could ride some in the sauna, that would be great. Or in the bathroom with the shower on. But that is killer. And then elevation is the last that hits everyone the same. And that's where you either go right before or take 3 weeks, supposedly. There's some mixed stuff on that, mixed reports, or do crazy with like elevation tents and all that. But it's probably, I don't know. I feel like probably the heat one is the biggest one that you can actually overcome and have a way big performance than just a shattered day.
Yeah. One thing I want to mention, and just like a vote for indoor training, if you live in a hilly area and you have a full Ironman or any sort of race where it's like really steady, that's one of the huge benefits of being on the trainer, being able to be in position or keep steady power for as long as you need to. It pays huge dividends. Any other thoughts on this, Amber, about
you can do the inverse. If you're in a flat area and you know that you're going to be going someplace like a race like this, where there are going to be some steep kind of punchy parts of the climb. A couple things. Mix up your cadence when you're doing steady state efforts on the trainer. So you can do those efforts at maybe a cadence of 75 or 70 instead of a cadence of 80, 85. And then you can also do some of those efforts standing. So mixing up your cadence and your position on the bike, because like Nate was saying, you might need to be standing to leverage the frame on some of the steeper stuff. And then training that kind of muscular endurance and that mechanical motor pattern can be really helpful too. And mentally, then you feel mentally more prepared. And then two other things on that. One is gearing. I think Pete mentioned this, hugely important. That can save you. So, talk to other people who've done the race and find out what would be helpful, because that can help even that out a little bit for you, or make it considerably worse depending on the situation. Yes. And then if there are lots of ups and downs and you're on a bike with aero bars, the technical aspect of that is going to come in handy, or is going to become very important. So if you are not used to being in the aero bars going down steep hills, don't try it in the race. Go for stability over aero every time, because when you're in control, you'll be willing to go at higher speed. You'll be safer. And you'll end up making more time than you would trying to stay in the aero bars on a section where you really don't feel comfortable and you're not in control. So just the technique aspect, the gearing, and then, playing around with your cadence when you're doing steady state efforts where you are now can really go a long way.
Don't ever be in the aero bars on descents, and you triathlon people. And because the race is packed with people, if you are a T-tier and you're in a Tour de France and you're by yourself, even those guys, you see them. They come out of the aero bars. Mm-hmm. Yes. And there are certain people that do it. You can just not react. And because of triathlon, it is like it's a it's a loose peloton, right? And people are moving. One person kind of drifts, and then someone's passing. That's where the crashes happen, right? Mm-hmm. It's two people passing at once, and one person's coming faster on the outside, and the person that's passing the first person doesn't realize it. If you're in your aero bars, you're going to have a bad time. Mm-hmm. And even if you think you're by yourself, you're not looking back while you're descending in the aero bars. Someone else could be coming up on you faster. Just please don't do it in any race.
One easy thing to remember with that is if you're braking, remember that's a whole lot more detrimental to your speed than being in the aero bars. So that, or being being out of your aero position. So in other words, if you're using your brakes, there's no reason to try to be aerodynamic on top of that. That's that's not giving you any benefit, right? Yeah. So
pretty much if you're pedaling and there's no turns, you can be in the aero bars.
Sure, right?
Yeah.
Unless you're Jeff Kabush. Does not like aero bars. But one thing that does like suspension forks on a gravel bike. So the next thing I wanted to add with this is technicality. If you show up to a race and you have, it's like way more technical than what you're used to riding. So crits, mountain bikes, road races, courses with seals that bite you, all that stuff. Whatever you have, if it's more technical, you can find opportunities to try to work on your skill beforehand. Just try to, because that's one thing where like elevation, you can't do much unless you can afford like a tent and to be able to sleep in an elevation tent or somehow go to the race long beforehand. You can't do much. But technicality, you can improve yourself. It doesn't mean that you're going to be as good as some sort of high mark, some athlete that's very technically sound, but you can improve. And that's one thing that I think can lower your cognitive load, particularly when you have a race that's so set on pacing. So if you have like for triathlon in particular, if your mind is just, scrambled eggs up there because you're terrified of the technical aspects of the course that you're riding on, it's going to make it really hard for you to focus on holding your pace because that's so all consuming. Yeah. So if you can get to the point where you are putting more time in on those technical skills, it can just really go a long way. And you can do that through a lot of different ways. A parking lot drill has amazing application to being out on the road in terms of making you more comfortable, even though it's not exactly the same. So that's one thing that I would say. If you have an event coming up and it is more technical, you can prep for that. Try to figure those things out beforehand.
If you Google SF Bay nibbles the seal, the first article is Rogue Elephant Seal Goes on Rampage. But this is
it's amazing.
This is 2007 though, so this seal's probably, I don't know how long. Do seals? Maybe they're really good at it now. Who knows? Like I don't know how long seals. Let's see. I'm going to Google it. Seals. keep talking.
I'm glad we're solving the important problems. The other thing that I want to mention though that Nate said on the cold, like a lot of people ask, like, am I going to get a benefit because I'm used to it? But in terms of cold, yes, you can put layers on. You can manage all of that. But a lot of that ends up coming down to how a person manages their mental space as well. Cold throws you out of your comfort zone. And if you're out of your comfort zone because of something like that, it can be tough. So yeah, familiarizing yourself with it if you're able to. I don't know if anybody has a giant freezer that is safe to ride in. Doesn't really sound safe. But if you're able to, sure, it probably will help you get used to things. But no physical adaptation is going to be there. Nate?
More than 30 years. So nibbles could be around
alive
still.
and well.
Yeah, still there, nibbling.
So the question is, how do you simulate the nibbling when you're training for open water swimming?
Get a dog.
Yeah, exactly. Find that one dog on the group ride and just ride back and forth right by it.
If you like this video, make sure you give us a thumbs up.
If you didn't like this video, you can give it a thumbs down, but let us know what you would have done differently in the comments below.
If you want to see more of these videos, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you want to become a faster cyclist, check out TrainerRoad.com.
Do it.